Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jimmy, and today we'll take a look at the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. Now this printer is huge. It has a massive build volume of 420 by 420 by 480 millimeters squared. It has a max printing speed of 500 millimeters per second. It has two ways of bed leveling. One of them is auxiliary, which is manual, with the next one being 121-point auto bed leveling with a ceramic hot end that can go up to 300 degrees Celsius. Now, what's wild about the Neptune 4 Max is that for me, I always live by you get what you pay for, which means that if you pay more, you get more. If you pay less, you get less. But when it comes down to the Neptune 4 Max, you're paying for a printer that is under $500 starting off, giving you a massive build volume of 420 by 420 by 480 with great print quality. And I am comparing this versus the Bamboo X1 Carbon Combo and the Creality K1. So something that starts off at the price of $470, which sometimes is on sale, bringing it less, is just wild to me. So basically, the benefit and the quality that you're getting from something that is under $500 on this one is a bewilderment to me. And it's one of those things that I am super impressed with when it comes down to the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. So some of these supported materials that you can use is PLA, ABS, TPU, PETG, and nylon. So it does use a dual gear direct extruder, which works fantastic. It also has a efficient cooling system. So it has fans that is on the gantry frame as well as the extruder itself. It is using a PEI magnetic platform. So it is a spring steel sheet, which is basically also having a special coating on it. So you have basically a textured build plate that is able to easily be printed on and then easily taken off with just a bend of the plate itself. And again, so far I have never used glue when it comes down to any of my prints. Now it also does support the resume printing, so if anything happens where electricity goes out real quick, you are able to resume printing. It also has filament detection, and the files that it uses is STL and OBJ. You'd also be able to have your files transferred in several different methods, either through Wi-Fi, USB, or WLAN. So in today's video, I will be comparing the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max with the Creality K1 and as well as the Bamboo X1 Carbon Combo, even though I took off the AMS. So basically, it's just the Bamboo X1 Carbon. Now, taking a look at the machine and how much space you need, this is just a table that I got from IKEA. It's a 3 foot by 3 foot. And the reason why you need a lot of space is just because of how much this moves. So this is only going one way. So you want to make sure that you have enough room in front and you also have enough room in the back for the bed to go. So I got pretty close to the wall. There's actually a couple inches there left. You can also see the power cable sitting over there. So you just want to make sure that it doesn't, actually hit the wall, which it doesn't. It gets very close. So pretty much what you have here is your base. You'll have your arms. This right here is your extruder. And then you also have the filament detector and then the spool holder. Now looking at the front, you'll have this knob. This is for the belt that's underneath your hot plate. So you just want to make sure that it is tight enough so it is being guided and pulled along correctly. You also have this portion right here, which is a drawer that's able to hold some of your tools. But I do have all of my tools sitting right there just because I do have 3 machines. This is your USB port. This is the connector for your screen. And then you also will have a little bit of a belt right here, along with the knob that you can adjust it there as well. Here's the setup currently. So the Neptune 4 Max is over there on this own table. It's a 3 by 3 table. Also the Creality K1 on the floor. It was on the top, but because this thing shakes and moves so much, I put it on the floor, and that's okay. It's easy to deal with. Plus also, with the spool in the back, this just makes it easier for me to kind of handle it and work with it, switch out the filament rather than trying to go around it next to this big machine. And then the Bamboo X1 Carbon Combo, filament sitting on over to the right-hand side. Now what I love about this is the build volume. So I have 3 of them that printed there. And then here, you can just see that this, hot plate was only able to hold 1. So, I mean, just looking at the difference of just how much you're able to do. So again, these are all the exact same file. But yeah, so this hot plate, in terms of printing either something large or printing many of something, again, you just can't beat that size. And then pretty much what I do is I just give this thing a good wipe. So this way that there is no residue, there's no fingerprints or anything. I've actually never used glue on this hot plate just yet. So every single time that I've ever printed, I've always had a success, except for when I was going for my big, massive prints really close to the edges. That was where I was having a few issues. But other than that, every print has come out perfect. All right, let's see how this print is going so far. The other two are complete. I would get it taller because there is more space, but the wings would just be completely outside of the frame of the hotbed. So this one has been going for 21 hours and 30 minutes. Still got 13 minutes left, which sometimes that number kind of changes. It just depends on how fast it's printing at the time. So you can see how it's variable down there. But anyways, it's supposed to be pretty much a 22-hour print. So we'll just see how it comes out. Now, when it comes down to the unboxing and the assembly, I'm going to be completely honest. I was intimidated when it came down to the assembly of this, but it was actually very simple and easy to do. So I did record just a few steps of the process. I just want to make sure I got everything correct. So inside the box, everything is protected. Everything is surrounded by foam and all its layers and its own little departments. This is where I was able to place the base on the table. I got the gantry arm out, and this is where I'm kind of starting to put a few things together, but I love how everything is detailed, not only in the instructions, but detailed labelly when it comes down to every single one of those small little packages with all the little screws that you put it all together. So I was pretty much able to put the gantry arms on top of the base. I did actually have it slightly off the table, so then this way I'd be able to do the screws underneath, and you can actually do this on its side. And the very first thing that I ever printed once I got this thing together was benchy. So the very first benchy that I printed wasn't perfect, but I went through and I printed it one more time after doing a couple small adjustments, and it came out great, which you'll actually see soon here in the near future. So after you do all of your auxiliary leveling with these little turn knobs and a sheet of paper, then you do the automatic leveling, which is a 121 point leveling process. So currently we are printing a few dragons, but we're going to move over here and take a look at some of the bigger pieces, and then the rest of the pieces we'll actually do here in the next scene. So first off, this one was a huge dragon, and I chose this file because it's one that's very hard to print. So this is actually how it was developed. This was how it was created. It wasn't a full-on wing. You can actually see that it is symmetrical on both sides. So everything came out the way it's supposed to come out. I also had supports that was on this one. There was one area where I messed up. So when I was taking off these supports, there was a piece that was right here that actually got taken off when I was taking off the supports, which is this right here. So that was user error with the cleanup. Other than that, the dragon looks really good. The quality is there. It's exactly the way it's supposed to, come out based off of the file itself. So getting a up close and look at it, it's not the smoothest print ever, but it's also not one to be that smooth. I chose this file because it was difficult to print. I wanted to see if this was able to actually do it at this size, and it was able to. So this one is pretty impressive to me. Everything came out solid where it was supposed to be solid, a little bit more fragile where it was supposed to be fragile. And again, everything is 100% symmetrical on how it was supposed to look on both ends. Next up was one that I wanted to do that was tall. I could have actually gotten this one a little bit taller, but I knew for a fact it was going to come out great anyways. So you can see just how much taller this one is versus that print, also versus this print over here, which this is the big version of a T-Rex. But anyways, here are the lines. Everything is looking smooth everywhere where it's supposed to be smooth. Now let's compare the same file just in two different sizes. So this is sitting on a hot plate that would be able to fit, inside of a Bamboo X1 carbon. It's very similar to the size of the Creality K1 as well. And you can see here that we are out of bounds when it comes down to this size. And technically I could have even gone slightly larger with the T-Rex. And this is where we are sitting with this one. So this is where this one was pretty much sitting on the plate. The hands are out, the legs are sitting like this. So I just love the simple fact that, when it comes down to some of these files that we're printing at, small and average sizes, and then this is what it looks like when you can actually do it on the Neptune 4 Max. And now to get a closer detailed look of all of these prints, and I'll go through all these pretty quick, but I'm gonna give you all my comments on them. This was the very first thing that I ever printed. So the first thing is benchy. The bottom was not perfect, and that's because it was my issue. I did not do the input shaping. I did do the auxiliary leveling. I did the automatic leveling as well, but input shaping I didn't do before this print, and I'm kind of glad I did, because then it shows what happens when you actually do everything correctly. So when you do the bed leveling, through auxiliary, which is manual with the screws on the bottom, when you do the automatic 121 point auto bed leveling, and you also do the input shaping, this is the type of print that you get. So this is just showing the very first layer, is showing you the quality, making sure that you can actually see all the letters and the numbers on the very bottom. You can see all of the lines when it comes down to the benchy, again, looking exactly like all the other benchies I've printed with my other printers. The top, you can see all of the detail as well. And this is the Elegoo filament. So this is the Elegoo Gray PLA. So I wanted to go with their filament first, with their files, and that's exactly what I did. Next up, I did go over and I switched it to a light brown filament. This one was a different company, but this is again with the same file that they have. And this came out really good again with the quality. You can see all the details of the hair on the very top over here, details of the ears, just everything came out great. And you do have that textured plate that comes with it. So that springboard metal plate that you just bend it and everything pops right off. And just as a heads up, every single one of these prints, none of them used glue on the platform. So all of these is exactly directly onto the plate. I just made sure that it was cleaned off so there's no oils or residue from fingerprints. The next one, I wanted to do this again with the exact same color of filament. So this is the little planter that it comes with on that flash drive. Again, you can see the textured portion on the very bottom from the textured plate. You can see all the textures from the vase itself. And if you have small little hairs on any of these prints, which is one of the things I noticed with this printer, is that if you just take a little lighter, you just burn them right on off. And then you're gonna have absolutely no little stringy hairs on any of your prints. So again, this one came out the way I expected it. Then I moved over onto my crate with legs, because this one is a pretty intricate, print when it comes down to everything. And it looks exactly like it came off of my Bamboo. So I'm doing a lot of comparisons versus the Bamboo X1 Carbon. And it also looks as if it just came off of the Creality K1 as well, but on a printer that is huge with printing volume at a better price. Now again, here's all those little hairs. And if you ever run into this, it's really no big issue. Just take your little lighter. You can actually just go through all of this, and then they're all going to be gone. Because you got to remember, they're coming out of a nozzle that goes up to, 230 degrees Celsius. So a quick little lighter is going to clean them up. And I also used absolutely zero adhesion when it comes down to this. So I wasn't using any skirts. I wasn't using any brims. And in terms of adhesion, no glue. So everything just sits on the plate as it is. Zero issues, no movement, had no failed prints when it comes down to printing anything at any of these sizes here. And again, never with any type of glue on the plate. Now this one is my modern controller holder that I like to use at the house. This is one that I just put the Xbox controller sitting right here. I wanted to test this one because I had another one that I printed with the Bamboo. And really, when you take a look at the two of these ones, you're not going to see a lot of difference between the two. You don't know which one came off of, a $470 printer, and you don't know which one came off of a $1,100 printer. The only thing I got to do with this one over here is clean up a little bit of some of the hairs. And because it isn't black, it wasn't really able to show some of the details right there, but I can feel some of the ridges inside of there. So again, this one came out the way I expected it to. The other one right here is very, very intricate. So there's a lot of details when it comes down to the feathers on the front and the back. Also, there is a lot of moving parts. So the tail feathers over here moves. The feathers over here is moving as well. When I move the head, the feet move as well. Again, as expected. So pretty much the only thing that you'll see as a line is this was a separate piece that was printed right next to everything else, and I had to go inside of here and glue it onto the back of the head. This was another piece right here that I had to glue on as well too. But when you take a look at just how smooth this print is, I mean, it's very top-notch, top quality. All of the moving parts, you can see that the legs are moving when I am pushing up and down the head. And then again, all of the feathers is just so intricate, and there was no problems with any of the links or anything else. Now we'll take a look at the Triceratops. This one was a different filament that I've actually never used before. It's a very, very bright, glow-in-the-dark filament with all the details of the Triceratops. Again, it looks just like all the other Triceratops that I have printed with the other printers. Again, very pleased with that. Same thing when it comes down over into the dolphin. You're gonna get some really good details right over here. The bottom is looking beautiful with that textured plate. All of the links are looking secured and thick and no issues. Also, this one right here is one that is, you know, functional. I wanted to make sure that I was able to do the screw option. I wanted to make sure that I can take this thing all the way out, put it all the way back in, and have something that can crack some acorns or whatever you want to do with this one. This right here was the bottom piece. This was, you know, touching the plate, and this one was also touching the plate. So this was printing two pieces at the same time for this to work. And again, came out exactly the way it's supposed to. I'm glad that the thread works, because sometimes, you know, you might have small little issues where it doesn't go through perfectly when it comes down to some of the threading prints. But again, exactly, you know, came out exactly as I wanted it and as planned. Same thing when it comes down to these dragons. Again, everything is looking, again, the way it's supposed to. I love the fact that none of these are sticky on the bottom. Sometimes when I print some of these dragons on some of the other printers that I have, I sometimes have to put, you know, glue on the hot plate. And then after that, then I have to take these underneath the sink to get them from being unsticky. Again, this is from the Elegoo PLA, this gray one right here. And this one's just a different filament. It's a couple of colors, a little bit of white and a little bit of red. And again, quality came out exactly the way that I would want it to. And it looks exactly like all the other dragons that I have printed with my other printer that is, again, above $1,100. This one right over here is Beardy. This one comes off in two pieces. The big ball joint that goes on the inside of here, you know, no problems, no issues. A lot of details when it comes down to Beardy as well. And I like, you know, again, the bottom, how it looks with the textured bottom. You have all of the legs and everything that is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. You have the details with the back. And then lastly over here, this is the one that is, you know, the most fragile of them all. This one is one that is super thin, pretty much everywhere. It's fun to play with. Has a couple holes in the back that you put a string through, or you can put it onto, you know, like a nail. All the links and all the legs, it's all looking good. And you can just see how thin this little skeleton is as well. And again, even with something as fragile as this on that plate, where I don't have to use any adhesion or anything when it comes down to, you know, skirts or brim or even glue, he just pops right on off. Now, taking a look at your touchscreen display, you can pick this up. So if you want to stand a little bit taller with it, you can, or you can just leave it right there. Now you have 4 different categories. You have your print, prepare, settings, and level. You also have your XYZ coordinates. Here is your nozzle temperature and the hotbed temperature as well. Now level, we're not going to go into it just because I don't want to go through the whole leveling process, but this is where you can level it manually through auxiliary with these little screws underneath the hot plate. And then you also have the automatic leveling as well, which just goes through the full entire, you know, hotbed. Then what you'll have is the print option on the very top left-hand side. This is where you have all of your different prints that you'd be able to choose to print from. So these are the ones that I have imported. But here is your prepare. So this is where you'd be able to move your nozzle and everything else. So you'd be able to change the temperature. So if you want to get it warmed up beforehand, or, you know, play with PLA, ABS, PETG, or TPU. Here's your extruder. So this is where you're able to load and unload. It lets you know the temperatures of everything as well. And now for the settings, this is where you have a bunch of the settings that you're able to go through and change. You can change your language, your Wi-Fi information, or connect it to a different Wi-Fi. Here's your light control. You have your observation light and headlight. Headlight is this huge one that's underneath. That actually makes a huge difference when you're watching your print being printed. The observation light is just underneath the nozzle head itself. So if you only want to have a small light right next to your print, you can have that on. Then we also have the fan control, so you can either have it on or off. Here's the motor off, your filament detector, factory settings, about machine, and you also have advanced settings. So inside of here, this is where you have your backlight. So this is for your touchpad right here. So you can have it brighter or less bright. Here's your key sound, which currently I have it on. The power loss recovery, so if the power goes out, you're in the middle of a print, this would be able to recover and continue the print. Input shaper, this is one of the things you do when you first get the printer after you get everything all leveled out. This is the vibration motor and everything, the vibration for the x-axis and the y-axis. So I do suggest doing this after you have everything all, manually and automatically leveled out. You also have the nozzle PID calibration. You have temperature changes, print mode. So this right here, I have it as normal. So the fan isn't as loud. So pretty much instead of the fan being at 100%, I pretty much have the fan being at 80. And then the print mode, I have it as professional and not standard. Now the loading and unloading of the filament is so much nicer on the Neptune 4 Max from Elegoo than it is to do on the Creality K1. So now we're going to change out the filament. So up here is your spool holder, so pretty much the filament holder. Here's your filament detection, and then down over here is the extruder. So in order to get this done, the first thing that you want to do is you'll head over and you'll hit on prepare. You'll go to the extruder, and this is where you go to unload. Now what will happen first off is it will actually bring the temperature of the nozzle up, so it allows it to actually come out of the nozzle. Now that the temperature has been reached, this is where you hit the unload button. Right here, you'll be able to see the extruder dial moving to the right-hand side. So basically, it is pushing the filament out currently. So this is where I just put it right back onto the spool itself, pull it through the filament detector, place the new spool on, push it through the filament detector right here. And then as you bring it on down, you can actually move this over and make sure the hotbed is right there as well. So when it is pushing through the filament through the nozzle, it actually gets onto the hotbed. So at this point, what I do is I'll head over here and I'll hit the load button. Once you hit load, this is where you can see the extruder working. I push this little thumb piece down, push it through, and now this is actually being pulled with the extruder. Now, as the extruder wheel stopped, and you want to make sure that you have a good amount of filament that has started for your next print, just hit on load one more time. It is going through the extruder, and you make sure that your new filament color has come out. Now, with every video I shoot, I always give areas of improvements that I would like to see. First off, when it comes down to the hot plate itself, there's absolutely no alignment help. There's no guidance when it comes down to it. So I actually try to never take this off of the base. So pretty much I just kind of bend it just to get everything off. But there is no guidance, especially along the back. So when I talk about aligning, you can see right in the back over there on the left and the right, you can just lay your plate right there. Basically hold it into place, you set it down, and it's aligned. Now, same thing when it comes down over into the Creality K1. It has those little screws in the back, and you also have these grooves right there where everything just fits right into place and you know it's good. That is why I suggest just bend the hot plate and you're good to go. Then also when it comes down to your touch screen, when it comes down to the user interface, once you're printing something, you can't get out of this menu. So I can't go back and take a look at how long other prints would take. Really, I'd only be able to go through settings, pause, stop, and LED. I just kind of want to go through, the whole system itself. So this one right over here is printing, and instead of it being stuck on this screen here, I can take a look at all the prints. I can take a look at all the settings, the filaments, the temperatures. I can go back home. And if I just was curious on how much filament was to be used on something or how long a print would take, I would be able to have it and head back home. So that is that area of improvement here. And also I want file management. When it comes down to me taking a look at the files to print, I can't press and hold on a file to get it deleted. I have to take the flash drive off, put it into the computer, and then delete the file itself. So again, when it comes down to Creality, when it comes down to Bamboo, all you have to do is if you find one that you want to get rid of, you press and hold, and you're able to delete it. So with me not being able to do that, those are the 3 areas of improvement: a guidance stop and alignment towards the very back, upgraded user interface that I can go through more screens and settings than this, or screens and menus, and then also the ability of file management to delete a file. So a few things that I love so far about the Neptune 4 Max is how easy it is to load and unload when it comes down to the filament. The process is super easy, very, very quick. Also, probably the biggest thing is the printing space capability. You can see here, I actually have 6 different dolphins being printed at the exact same time. I have enough clearance in the back, the front, and all the edges. And so far, every single print has come off successful. The only one I've ever had an issue with was if I had a file, which could have been the file, something that was way over here on the very edge of the plate. But so far, everything that's been within this region, this whole area, has printed 100% successfully with 0 glue. And the other thing I love about it is going to be this headlight. So this headlight is so great if you want to watch your prints being printed in action. Now, you do have a couple of the other options on here, which is with the LED, you can turn off the headlight and you can only watch your observation light, which is right next to the nozzle head. I also like that if everything has already been calibrated and everything has already been leveled out, it goes directly into the print. The only thing you have to wait for is this massive printing space to actually heat up to the plate temperature. And that's pretty much about it. Now let's take a look at the software that you would be using on your computer for the Neptune 4 Max, and this is based off of the program from Cura, and this one was in partnership with Elegoo. So this is the version I would suggest using, which is on the flash drive that comes with the printer itself. Now you can see here that I'm manipulating the build plate. That's with the right key press on the mouse. So this is the right click. I'm just able to press and hold and pretty much just kind of rotate it around. Here I'm using the wheel in the middle of the mouse so I can zoom in, zoom out. And then if you were to press and hold down on the wheel, it allows you to move the bed position. So pretty much, let's say that you're looking at this angle here, but then you have a very tall print. You press and hold down on the wheel and then you just slide it down with the mouse. And then that allows you to get a different viewing angle. So pretty much what you're able to see here on this screen is prepare and preview, as well as monitor if you want to take a look at the printer itself. Up on the very top left-hand side, you have your file, then here's your edit. And I point this out because this is where you have some of your little tools you're able to use if you want to arrange all of the models or multiply, the selected models and such. Some other versions or some other softwares may have some icons over on the left side or the top that allows you to do this. So those ones are actually up here inside of the edit button, and you can actually just memorize the short key for any of those. And then also what you'll have next up will be inside of settings. This is where you're able to put in the printer that you have. So this is where you pair it up with the printer and select the printer that you're using. So this way that this build plate that is being showed right here on the software is the correct size. So you have everything that will fall in line with your printer. So we paired it up with the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max, and you can do that by adding printer or manage printers. Now, once that you have selected all of that, it'll actually show right over here. This is the printer that you are working with all the parameters. This is the filament that you'd be working with, and you can just tap here and select which filament you're using. If it's from Elegoo, or if you're using something from eSun, if it's PETG or PLA+, and so on and so forth. On the bottom left-hand side, this is where you can take a look at the different views. If you want to view it from the front, the side, the top, or 3D. Pretty much, I just kind of manipulate everything with the mouse anyways. Now, also what you'll have up here on the right-hand side on the top, this is where you have your settings for the print itself. So when you take a look up over here, what you'll actually notice and view the first time you open this up is this screen. And there's a lot more to this than what you actually view. So you can actually go through some of these different profiles. So you can have like a fine quality at 0.2. You can have the fine strength or fine fast. And there's more that I can show you here in just a second. And then also your infills, if you want it to be like 15% or 18% or 20%. And then you can also select what type of support you're using, and also adhesion, which means what you want to be on the plate. Are you going to have a little skirt go around it, or a brim, or anything like that? Then what you can do from here, this is what you'll see from default. You click on custom, and then inside of custom, what I want to show you is this little sandwich icon here, and this is where you can go from basic to advanced. And it's going to show actually quite a bit more. So if you're looking at this screen here and this screen here, if you select the option of advanced, you're going to have more parameters in all of these different sections. So just kind of choose which one, is best for you, if you want it to be basic or if you want it to be advanced. Also right here, these are all the different qualities of the print. So you can have it come out as the 0.12 millimeter, 0.16. So you have high quality, normal quality. Here's the fine quality, the strength, as well as fast. More than likely, you'll probably use this option right here. And then if you don't care about the quality as much, you want it to be a little bit more airy, then you can do like the medium quality and draft quality. So we're going to just choose this one here. Now another section I want to show you over here, there's only really two of them. I want to show you cooling, because what you can do with cooling here, originally it's at 100, but because there's several fans on here and it does a perfect job at 80% anyways, you can actually bring down the sound of the fans, put it at 80% rather than 100. And then also here is your support. So if you want to add in any supports like tree supports or the regular supports or zigzags, you can choose that option. And then also your build plate adhesion. So this is where if you want it to be brim or, skirt, or if you want it to be none. So for all the prints except for one, I pretty much had it as none. So I didn't have any adhesion at all. So once you have all of this all set up, right there. Again, you can just take a look at this one, and we'll just take a look at the quick little version right there. So once you have this all set up, then what you can do is you can actually bring in your file. So I'm going to open up my file. I'm going to choose this little dolphin. And now that you have the dolphin selected, now you have the stuff on the left-hand side that you can change a few. So if you wanted to move it around the plate, maybe you want to make this one bigger so the whole entire scale is going to, be uniform. So it's going to be 120% when it comes down to the size. So now that I've kind of played with this a little bit, you can go through more if you would like to. So this is where you can rotate it or reset it however it came on originally, or you can lay it flat. You also have options for different supports and such. So when you play with all of these ones, just look through them all, take a look at what it does. You're able to learn it. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to multiply this. So I did Control M, and I want to have like 4 other ones as well. So now we have 5 dolphins that is now on our build plate. So I'm just going to move these around a little bit. I want to get those little gray areas away from each other, because you want to make sure that you have enough clearance for the print to be done and printed. So this is just letting you know that you don't want to put any other print inside of here, because then it's going to interact, with what it's also trying to print. So now that you have all this set up, again, you can move this around, manipulate the whole entire screen, and then you can hit on slice. So if this is exactly how you want it to be done, you have your sizes that you want for the dolphins, you went through the infill and the type of quality of a print you want to have. Then once you have all of that done, now what I can do is I can take a look to see how long it's going to take, which is going to be 7 hours and 38 minutes. It's going to use 172 grams of filament, and majority of the time you have a whole kilo, so you have a whole 1,000 grams. So I can do this several times, maybe 7 or 8 times, probably maybe closer to 6 times with all of these ones here. But the other thing you can take a look at is the preview. So when it comes to the preview, you can actually see all the layers. So this is like 282 layers or something close to that. And as you drag this down, you can actually watch what it's doing through the whole print. So let's say that I kind of zoom in a little bit more, I do a little bit of an overhead, and I want to see a closer look of exactly what it's doing. This is how the print is supposed to be coming out. You can see exactly how they're doing the links in between all of the different sections. So if you're curious on, how the print is going to come out, or you can see if there's any problems or issues with your print, you can take a look at all of the layers, especially again with those links in over here. So you can make sure that everything is looking good. So now that you have all of this looking good, you took a look at it, you even took a look at the preview, you know how long it's going to take and how much filament it's going to take. This is where you go to save to file, or you can send it over to the printer. So a lot of times I just save it to my computer. So then this way, if there's any changes I need to do, I can do it. So it is being saved. And then also too, I can just transfer it to the flash drive and then move it over to the printer. So hopefully you guys have appreciated this video, you have learned something from this video, or maybe it has helped you out. If so, make sure you guys give this thing a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the very bottom left-hand side. And if you like this video, then more than likely you'll also like this video. And I'll see you guys later.